Welcome back. The winter holidays are typically framed as the most wonderful time of the year, an opportunity for family and celebration. But that isn't the case for everyone. For many, the holidays can also be a trigger of feelings of stress, grief, anxiety, fatigue, and sometimes some negative reflections on the past year. Joining us now to give us some advice on how to address these challenges is the program manager for behavioral health at VNS Health, Susan Clayton Meyer. And Susan, glad to have you back.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
On one side, the holidays are great, but then on the other side, there's a lot of people who experience the holiday blues, if you will. And we know that it's common and it's prevalent. How common and how prevalent is it in the lives of people?
It's actually very common, and thank you for asking, Darren. We do love the holidays. There's a lot of commercialization around it, which can be fun, and there are a lot of good activities. But in particular, as we age, some things can change, right? We can have more sense of loss, and that can bring about grief and some sadness. We could have some anxiety because our abilities change as we age. So it can be temporary, wrapped around the holidays, but if it builds and grows, it can become more of a problem where we need to seek help. There's studies where they show almost up to 64% of older adults have, and a lot of us have some feelings of stress and anxiety and depression during the holidays.
That's a huge number. And I think about myself. I mean, I remember Thanksgiving used to be the family holiday, but then after my mom passed away, it didn't become quite the same. Certainly, it's a Thanksgiving, but it's not the same. And you do find these kind of like triggers that you look at the calendar and you're like, oh, what are some of the more common triggers that people are seeing during the holiday season that can set them in this place where, they become emotionally unhealthy?
Thank you, Darren, and my condolences. And you're right, you actually mentioned a very big trigger, and that could be losses that we've had in the last year. And a lot of us have had many losses since the pandemic, but even before. And as we get older, of course, that's going to happen more often. We don't live forever. We have people that move away. We have sons and daughters that get married and might move away. They might have two families, so you need to split the day or have a holiday on a separate day, not on the actual day. We have things that when we've had those losses, there's grief attached. So we want to acknowledge the grief, but not have it take over. And we're looking also at the fact that as we get older, we do also have different physical challenges. So we go into winter, even just the weather can be a challenge for getting around. We might need to change some of our celebrations. We all have favorite years where Thanksgiving was the best or 4th of July celebration was the most fun. Maybe we can't do the Thanksgiving parade anymore, but we can invite people over to watch it in our homes. We have to really turn what seems like a challenge into just creating a new tradition.
Yeah.
And
And that's true. You have to try to create new memories. That's sometimes a very hard thing to do. But I'll ask about how do I know? How do I know this person is going down a bad rabbit hole, if you will? How do I know that this person? Because I'll ask the question, "Hey, how you feeling?" The answer will be, "Hey, I'm doing good." How you feeling? Good. But we know those are surface answers. So what should I be looking for beyond the surface to get me in a position where I can better help somebody that may be having these holiday blues?
Absolutely. Good question. And there are things we can look for. And we can look for these signs not only in the loved ones that we have in our home, but in loved ones that we have outside of the home, in our neighbors that we care about, right? People that are at centers and programs that we go to, people that we care about at work. We're looking for people who are maybe their way of communicating has changed. They're not talking as much, they're not socializing as often, they're isolating at home. We want to look for changes in sleep habits, changes in eating habits, maybe more irritable, more anxious. And so it's really a lot of the symptoms that you might see with anxiety and depression. It's just not as prolonged. But if these symptoms go for several weeks, then that's when we want to just seek some professional help and look for some more care. Because this can be helped with a lot of friends and supports. We have our family, friends. Sometimes a lot of people do turn to their church, and that is some place to go for help.
Yeah, well, and that's a question that you let me into because you have the person that's really dealing and navigating these feelings. Sometimes isolation is very prevalent. People want to isolate; they don't want to be bothered, and they become depressed. And some actually do reach out for help. What services are available for people? I think you talked, a couple about, church and a couple other places. But what else can a person do if they're really being hit hard this holiday season?
So, thankfully, there are good resources out there, and we know that they can help with this. So, when you've reached out to other people, or maybe you just need to reach out to someone that you can speak to anonymously and just tell your problems to, there's several resources. Here in New York City, you can contact NYC Well, which you can contact by their internet, you can text them, you can call them, multiple languages. They have a 24-hour hotline. There's also a new national hotline, 988, that you can call at any time, and they will connect you to your local resources that are very helpful for any kind of emotional well-being. It does not have to be a severe behavioral emotional issue. It can really mean that you just need to talk to somebody and maybe ask some questions. And VNS Health is here for you. We have programs in the Bronx, Manhattan, Queens. Our number, 866-986-7691. And we are here. We have specialized programs for older adults who can often feel the stress and strain of the holidays. And again, that can include physical changes, emotional changes, grief from loss of people we love, or maybe even having to move yourself, as well as the strain of possible finances.
Mhm.
These are all important things to recognize and think about. What can you do to make realistic expectations for the holiday, make some changes to create new memories that accommodate the abilities of those you love and will be with.
And for yourself, talk to me about how you're feeling in terms of the number of people that you're seeing this year. Are we seeing a groundswell of more people this year looking for more services with the holidays now approaching?
We actually have had an increase in the last month for people who would like to speak with someone. We do presentations out there, and this is one of our main presentations, is the holiday blues at this time of year, and it's very well received. And a lot of people on the calls and on these presentations talk about their struggles with the holidays. It's real, and it's good to acknowledge it and recognize what you need, recognize what you're in charge of, what you can control, what you can't control. And it's okay to say yes to invitations, and it's also okay to sometimes say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan, I got to get you to tell me about this here because this is very important. I think also for the holidays, you talk about the person that's really dealing. I want to talk about caregivers real quickly because I think for caregivers, this could also be a very stressful time. So, what do you do if you're a caregiver?
So that's a very good question, and caregiving is very difficult. There are a lot of support groups out in the community, and I recommend reaching out. Again, you can reach out to 988 or NYC Well to find a support group. They also can talk about what a lot of people don't know about, which is respite care
Hmm.
for those who need round the clock care and maybe living at home, because everyone needs a break. And also, as a caregiver, recognize what is really important and what can you skip, right? What you want to make some holiday cookies, great. Maybe you don't need to make 5 dozen of them this year,
Hmm.
right? We want to think about how can people help you. So you want your loved one to be part of it. Can you they can maybe only handle talking to one person at a time, can you make little invitations? Can you get someone to watch your loved one so you can go out to a celebration for yourself? Make sure you get sleep, that you're eating well, and that you're focusing also on your own emotional well-being, is because we know you're focusing on the care of the person you love, but you also need to focus on love for yourself. But reach out. There
Yeah.
are groups that can help and give you advice.
Susan Clayton Meyer giving us some great tips. It's great to see you again, and thank you for giving us the necessary resources and the helps that we can really try to navigate through this holiday season. So many people are really facing this challenge, and they don't have to face it alone. So thank you for the much needed help.
Thank you very much. Look, it challenges all of us. Just be realistic and enjoy what we can.
Right.
Thank
Indeed.
you.
Good advice there. Well, for more information, you can visit the website at vnshealth.org and then call them at 866-986-7691. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.